when those scenes will be once again seen here. But as we are seeing that Prime Minister Modi is already inside, and we are also told that Vladimir Putin has also reached here. And Anand, let me quickly tell you that the distance from here, the Palam Technical Airport, to the 7LKM, the official residence of Prime Minister Modi, is 11 kilometers. So the moment they come out of this gate, if you can see right now from our camera on our screens right now, is 15 to 20 minutes. 7:30 is the time for the dinner. And of course, as we've been speaking to people inside the airport, they're saying that the entire airport is glittering, completely decked up, and Prime Minister Modi, of course, ensuring, because he reached way before time inside the airport, and in fact, took a stalk around how's the preparation for the welcome of Vladimir Putin. Remember, as you've been also discussing about this, there have been very few instances when Prime Minister Modi himself had come to the airport, and this year we had seen when Amir of Qatar had arrived, Prime Minister Modi was here, and in 2020 in Ahmedabad for Donald Trump, in 2017 for Sheikh Hasina and for Shinzo Abe, and in 2015 for Barack Obama when he was the chief guest of Republic Day. So today again is the day, and that shows that how important that person is for you, who is coming to your country, and you are himself going there at the airport and waiting for him actually to arrive, and then of course the entire delegation along with you
that
is
10-minute
there to
wait.
So
that 10-minute wait will go a long
gesture.
way. That will not be forgotten. That 10-minute wait that President Putin made in Tianjin for Prime Minister Narendra Modi to join him inside his vehicle, in his car, will not be forgotten. And perhaps this is also a signal to the world. We'll try and see if we have our guests this evening on the right stand to understand the import of these pictures. We should also have the live visuals coming. These are from just a short while ago. The preparations are at full tilt, and there will be the bonhomie. There will be, where do they meet and greet each other? Both leaders, will they break protocol, and will one invite the other into their cavalcade, and will they travel together, and do the conversations already then begin? Abhijit Iyer Mitra with us. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, big messaging to the world that Russia is an important partner. The West may want to sanction it left, right and center and lampoon it, but Bharat stands steadfast, just like Russia has in the past with Bharat. Those are pictures of President Putin's aircraft landing. Its touchdown has happened and the taxi will happen. These are first pictures coming on CNN News 18. So the presidential plane is on the tarmac. There it is, and then it will just exit the runway, make its way to the tarmac area where officials of both the Prime Minister and the President of Russia, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's officials, and of course the Russian delegation and the Russian officials, they're all present there for this welcome. The red carpet will be laid, and then President Putin will alight. But Abhijit Iyer Mitra, as we have these pictures, your thoughts?
Remember, this relationship, it is 70, 80 years old. They have always given us a veto on demand, except for that short period when Andrei Kozyrev was foreign minister. Now, Andrei Kozyrev is a rat who's now in the West sitting and talking about sanctioning Russia and things like that. So we should leave that aside as an aberration. The rest of the time, when have the Russians not come through for us? We used to keep getting moral lectures from the West, when the West had no problem supporting Pakistan with arms and sometimes sending the fleet against us to thwart our attempts at disciplining Pakistan. Russia stood by us. Now, it is not just historical value, Anand. We need to remember we can never allow China and Russia to come together. We have to keep Russia on our good side for our own interest, current interest right now. This is not past baggage we're talking about. This is present geopolitical interest that we have to keep in mind. And this is something that is current. Now, there is also things now like the S-400. I'm very certain there is an S-400 or an S-500 purchase that is going to happen. Sukhoi 27, Sukhoi 57, I don't know. Maybe, may not be. But the relationship is good. It is clear. The dynamics, the geopolitical dynamics of it are 100% solid. Because remember, Russia also can't be stuck with a monopsony market in China. It needs alternative markets for its higher value goods and things like that, which India provides.
True. Ambassador Shashank is with us, former Foreign Secretary of India, and also Surya Jayanti, non-resident senior fellow, Atlantic Council with us. My namaste and Jai Hind. Thank you for your time. Shashank ji, your thoughts? How critical, how important is this visit from both Bharat and also Russia's perspective? Shashank ji, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, your thoughts, please. Namaste. Anand here. Ji.
Namaste, Anand. No, I didn't hear your question. I thought you were asking someone else.
No, the question was to you.
Yes.
The importance of this visit from both Russia's perspective and also Bharat's perspective. The timing also.
It's an extremely important visit. It's taking place after 4 years. And when there have been signs that America is trying to bring an end to the Ukraine-Russia conflict, but it is finding that, firstly, the Europeans are not on board. Secondly, the American arms manufacturers are also not on board. So there is some kind of a difficulty within the American setup. So with this as the background, Russia and India are both trying to continue strengthening their relationships. This is a relationship of total mutual trust, and which has been built up over a long period of time. And the kind of technology transfers which have taken place between our two countries, they have led to a new situation where we have been talking about a joint production, joint R&D, and investments in both places. So I think these are the issues which have been talked about. Now we need to implement them. And I think, keeping in mind India's Atmanirbharta campaign, we should really request this time Russia to do the technology transfer as much as possible to India.
Well, with respect to the S-500s, there is conversation around technology transfer. The S-500s are important in terms of futuristic capabilities. There's conversation around technology transfer and manufacture in Bharat of the Sukhoi 57 too. But will we get there? Because we're still expecting 2 batteries of the S-400s. That's already part of the deal. Surya Jayanti, will it be largely defense, or will there be another geopolitical import of this visit too?
This is a hugely important visit, geopolitically speaking. I think the broader background here is, and I say this speaking from Washington, D.C., and as a former U.S. diplomat assigned to Ukraine, the broader background here is that it is not all about the United States all the time. And I think it is easy for Washington often to forget that there are countries out there that have their own long-standing relationships, their own long-standing priorities that diverge from the United States' geopolitical and economic priorities. So what Washington is watching unfold is exactly that situation now between Russia and India. And what Washington wants is, of course, a big part of the dance that's going to go on, because Modi is in a position where he needs to balance both his interests with Moscow and also his interests with Washington, D.C. But there are many aspects of this that the United States has no role in. And so I think we will see as much of a strengthening of the relationship as possible between India and Russia from this. I think it will be couched of global stability. I think India will be quite careful to make sure that it isn't saying anything inflammatory to the United States. But we are watching a little bit of a global power realignment, and the Russia, India, China shift of power from Western capitals to these Eastern countries is something that I think is rapidly unfolding, and that the Russian war in Ukraine has played a big part of. And then most broadly, or at least with respect to the balance of power between Russia and India, I think Russia needs India a lot more than India needs Russia right now. And so I think this is an excellent opportunity for India to secure some concessions in defense, some contracts in energy, manufacturing, as well as broader strategic gains.
Well, Bharat has a 70 billion import bill and just a 4 billion export bill to Russia right now. So that trade deficit needs to be balanced a bit. Nikita Menkovich, Director of the Eurasian Analytical Club, is also with us. My namaste. Thank you for your time. Your thoughts on this? There are 10 GOMs that are supposed to be signed. That's not necessarily defense. What do you think will be the key focus areas, Nikita, as far as President Putin's perspective is concerned? Because there have been some placatory tones post the Witkoff meet from the Americans. There has been some indications from Mr. Peskov also, where he said that we just need a sovereign guarantee from Ukraine that they will not join NATO, and then we can immediately cease fire. Will that conversation also happen between these two leaders? Is Bharat playing a role in the Russia-Ukraine conflict? Nikita.
First of all, I'd like to underline that there is no Russian-Ukrainian conflict. It is a Ukrainian problem, Ukrainian conflict, in which Russian and Ukrainian army fighting against puppet government in Kiev. They are fighting for those land and for those freedom. That's what it is about. Of course, in this case, Russia is dealing with United States, who established and controlled so-called Ukrainian government of Mr. Zelensky. The only thing we want our land back. We want freedom for our people. We want guarantees that no new war will be produced by United States and NATO on the Ukraine territory. Of course, we doesn't want to see there NATO troops, American soldiers, American occupation. That's all about. Please don't talk about so-called Russian-Ukrainian conflict. A lot of Ukrainian people fighting against American mercenaries in Russian troops. Russian and Ukrainian people are allies against NATO aggression. You should remember it.
It's also about the narratives and perspectives from either side. And one of the things perhaps that Bharat can learn is to how to shed the Western narrative and to try and pursue a narrative that is important to the country. The Russians seem to be doing that very focused and ably, and have negotiated a huge gamut of sanctions and financial distress to continue to sustain themselves. But Farwa Amer, Director of South Asia Initiatives, Asia Society Policy Institute, would you agree with Nikita, Surya, or would you have a different perspective itself on the import of this visit, the connect between these two leaders, and more importantly, the Bharat-Russia dosti? Can this move to that no limits description that was hinted at by Mr. Peskov?
Thank you for having me. I do agree with what Surya said. It is important for India to value and to keep continuing to support its partnerships both with Russia and with the United States. Of course, this has been a challenging year for the US-India relationship. There's the trust deficit that has developed, and this visit is coming at a very delicate time because of the US sanctions and the tariffs and the trade deal that is on the table between the United States and India. And there's been a decrease in the crude oil imports that had seen a massive increase and was something notable for the United States between India and Russia. So now when this visit is going to happen, it's going to be one where India would want to make sure that the overall relationship, despite these differences that have emerged because of the sort of curbing the oil imports in light of the US sanctions and to comply with some of the US demands, and in terms of securing its relationship with the West, it will be to also make sure that the relationship with Russia stays stable and steady. One of the biggest narratives coming out of India is to expand this relationship and take it beyond defense and oil, and to try and make it more broadly economic, sort of one where there is room for more technological cooperation. There is room to do more on the civil nuclear cooperation side and collaboration side. There's one labor mobility agreement that's likely going to be signed as well. So, to engage more from a people-to-people perspective. So how can you take this relationship and make it a little bit broader to kind of maintain that status of this privileged and strategic partnership? Of course, this has been a testing time for India because this year has sort of laid out how much strategic flexibility there is for India in this rapidly evolving geopolitical order that we are seeing, not just with how India is engaging with Russia in light of what's coming out of the West and Western policy uncertainty towards India, but also how it's kind of stepped up even so cautiously in terms of its engagement with China. When Prime Minister Modi was in China after 7 years for the SCO, that event in itself also had reactions come out of Washington. So there is room, however, to see to kind of make sure that both relationships can somehow remain in parallel and do well if there's progress on the Ukraine negotiations, peace negotiations.
Well, there may be territorial disagreements. There would also be an adversarial thought process between China's machinations under the CCP and the PLA vis-a-vis Bharat. But when a nation like and under the leadership of Donald Trump tries to weaponize trade, then can other nations set aside their territorial ambitions and look at how they can use economics, they can use trade to perhaps defang bullies? Is that a possibility, Shashankji? But if it comes to Bharat and Russia, then there has to be a rupee-ruble agreement. Because you can't base it on the dollar if Russia continues to be sanctioned and Bharat continues to be threatened with sanctions if it continues to buy oil. Although it's hypocritical that nations in Europe, America itself continues to trade with Russia, be it fertilizers, oil, energy, etc.
Yeah, I agree with you that America has been putting unilateral tariffs on India, which is quite unfair. But India has to see that, well, they have not put these tariffs on China, Europe, and on itself. And therefore, we have to ensure that whatever oil and other energy resources we buy from Russia, we should use it for ourselves, number one. Secondly, we should go for technology transfer, because that will be strengthening the Atmanirbharta campaign of India. Thirdly, as you said, that we have to make arrangement for rupee-ruble trading directly, whichever way it is possible, either by more investments by Russia and India, by choosing a larger gamut of imports from India, or asking Indian companies to invest in Russia. Also, as you said, labor movement might be there, because apparently Russia is short of technical manpower, skilled manpower, and the labor, and they would very much like to have a large number of people from India. So I think these are all issues which are necessary. China, of course, they have their own territorial ambitions, but China has been telling India for a long time that China and India are both civilizational powers in Asia, and we can delay our contest for a later time. In the meantime, if we build up our economic capacities, our technical capacities, then we might be able to see that Asia has a better role to play in the world relationships. So I think with what America is doing right now, that is making it possible for India to look at the Chinese advice much more positively, which we were not doing earlier, because earlier our foreign minister had been saying that let us first sort out the border issues, and then we will come to the other parts. But now I think that the Americans are putting unilateral sanctions on India, but while leaving out China or many other countries from this. So therefore, India has to see that, well, we also build up our ties with China to the extent possible, and also with Russia, which of course are very, very important ties for us.
Yeah, I think if the Chinese state can afford to take some strong decisions, they, 2 months or 1.5 months, they stop importing soya bean. And the Americans immediately looked at that $10 billion bill and immediately, calmed down. So there were certain weapons, again, trade, the amount of debt that the Chinese absorb of the American debt, all of that also weighs in with, Trump trying to look at Bharat and not at China. The red carpet laid out, flying Kremlin is on the tarmac. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will walk up as soon as there is a signal, and we'll have to read the language between the two leaders. Pictures speak 1,000 words. The Prime Minister's gesture, waiting for nearly half an hour at the airport at the tarmac, reaching well on time. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, is this Bharat's way of saying thank you for the Tianjin gesture? Is that one? Secondly, the way these two leaders will meet, greet, and how they depart. If they depart in the same car, irrespective of whether it is the Prime Minister's vehicle or President Putin's vehicle, towards 7 Lok Kalyan Marg, will also send a few signals.
So, look, this was an annual visit that used to happen. The Indian Prime Minister went there 1 year. The Russian President would come here 1 year. It just hasn't happened for the last 4 years because of the Ukraine war. And the second thing is, it was very curious. I was talking to air traffic control earlier today. Even the chief air traffic controller had not been told what time the plane would be landing. So there were a lot of security concerns that the Russians had flying over neutral, even over neutral airspace. I believe that this particular flight path has actually gone through military flight routes, not through the civil flight routes. And I don't know how the final coordination was done with the ATC and when the flight plan was given, because till this morning, Delhi ATC sure didn't know what time the plane was going to
Yeah,
land.
they kept it very guarded. President Putin is just about to step out. Abhijit and Mitra just staying with the pictures. There you go, thanking the captain of the ship as he steps out. And President Putin is stepping down. He's coming down, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi has walked right up there to the base of that those steps to receive President Vladimir Putin. There you go, as he steps down, walks up 10 steps, and there you will see Prime Minister Narendra Modi walking towards him. The big handshake and the big embrace. Lots of smiles between the two leaders. This is the long camera as Prime Minister Narendra Modi is walking slowly towards the red carpet. They meet halfway on the red carpet. Big warm embrace between the two leaders. Lots of smiles, lots of conversations. Clearly, both of them can converse in English, and that's what's happened. A short conversation in English as both of them walk together. The formal introductions to the delegates and the reception party, that's what's going on at this point as all the members of the PMO, the External Affairs Ministry, the joint delegation, both sides, the Russian, Indo-Russian counterparts, all of them stand there. That's the welcoming party that's being introduced, and then a handshake and greeting that's happening. And thereafter, this will be interesting to see. Which way do they move? Do they go in separate vehicles towards 7 Lok Kalyan Marg? They're all standing there for a photo op. Clearly, President Putin in good spirits, all smiles. The security, as Abhijit Iyer Mitra had said, they've kept all the details very guarded. There is a welcome dance and a performance that's being made. 5 or 6 dancers performing traditional Indian classical dance form. And this looks like Bharatanatyam. And so the performance there as both leaders pause on the tarmac to watch this. They watch, they applaud the performers for their effort, and that's the white vehicle. Now we'll have to see if they're all leaving together. We'll try and go across to those pictures and see if the leaders are departing together in the same vehicle. That means then the conversations, the broad contours of the conversation would have already begun. Yes, they are stepping in together. They are stepping in together. They are going together. There you go. The import of this is important. This looks like the president's vehicle. The president's vehicle in which Prime Minister Narendra Modi is also seated. The president sitting right behind the chauffeur, the driver's side, and Prime Minister sitting to the president's left. And the two leaders are already conversing. The SPG, the Russian security protocol, all of them sitting there. There are pictures that are being taken of the two leaders, and we'll have those pictures also being released in a bit. But Shashankji is with us. This is significant. After Tianjin, the second time the two leaders are traveling in the same vehicle. This is very rare. Shashankji, can you hear me?
I can hear you. So there is a very time constraint is there. They have to discuss. There's so many issues of great importance for bilateral relations and for the global situation as it is evolving, and issues of war and peace, that I think it's important that they should discuss this in the cars in a safe environment and take every opportunity to express their thoughts to each other.
But this is quite rare. This doesn't happen often. Surya Jayanti, Nikita Menkovich with us. Nikita Menkovich, this will be important. The Russians will be watching this. There is a show of fist and then, of course, something symbolic. There is a conversation that's happening. We can see the Prime Minister quite animated. But this is important. President Putin doesn't do this often with many leaders. Nikita.
This meeting is really important for both countries. For a long time, we had been main partners as Soviet Union and India. Now we're coming back to that level of relationship. Of course, for my honor opinion, not the more important what two leaders are showing now, but what they are going to discuss. But the thing with you demonstrate us that nothing spoils this meeting and this dialogue between our two countries. It shows that both Putin and Modi demonstrate confidential and respect for each other. It is a good base for dialogue and for future partnership in economy, in defense, in the military projects. I hope that also IT, science, and other fields will be a topic of our dialogue and next.
I'm just going to interrupt you because we're getting pictures from Arun Dhanta's camera. Arun, you're just at the point where the two leaders are departing in the same car, same vehicle together. So similar to Tianjin, it's a white color vehicle that should come your way any moment now. Arun, talk us through what you see.